Good evening, everyone. My name is Nofal Tamimi, one of the team members at Dubai Startup Hub, and with me today, my colleagues Natalia Secheva, Manager of Entrepreneurship Department, and Mariam El-Meheri, Executive of Entrepreneurship Department, and so many other colleagues with us. On behalf of the Dubai Startup Hub and Dubai Chamber team and our partners from Virtuzone, I would like to welcome you to the networking series events session dedicated to subject overseas expansions. Before we start, I would suggest us to get to know each other. For this, we will use a quick poll, which has just popped up on your screen. We will keep it open for 30 seconds. In the meantime, I would like to remind you that you can ask your question to both our panel and Dubai Startup Hub team by typing in the Q&A box anytime during the session. We will address them in the Q&A part. Without any further ado, let's start our session, switching to you, Natalia.
Thank you very much, Noof. Great. So very good evening, everybody. Today we have very intimate session with about a dozen entrepreneurs, which is actually not a bad thing to start with, as the whole idea and the subject and the purpose of this session today is to bring us together and have an insightful conversation and promote networking. Although we used to have it in person as an in-person event for 5 years straight, and we used to have 100 people in one room. So let's see how this series will go. So, but to start with, I think what we will do, Noof, do we have the poll result?
Mariam, I believe it's with you as I can't share it. So
yes, if we can see some
okay.
results. All right, the timing seems the timing works well for the majority of the attendees, and the majority on this call are actually entrepreneurs and some of the employees of corporate government organizations who are looking to start their business or just interested to be around innovators and forward thinkers. So to introduce ourselves, of course, because we got to know you a little bit more, and what Dubai Startup Hub is. Dubai Startup Hub is an entrepreneurship department or initiative of Dubai Chamber of Commerce, and our mission is to provide clarity and guidance to the entrepreneurs on their journey in Dubai. We work with entrepreneurs based in the UAE, in Dubai, and also all around the world, and we provide our services through the set of dedicated programs. 2020 has been indeed a unique year for the markets, and of course it impacted us. What's important, we as Dubai Chamber's Entrepreneurship Department, we haven't stopped or cancelled any of our programs scheduled for 2020 to support entrepreneurs. On the opposite, actually, going digital and fully virtual has opened the opportunity for us to serve a greater number of entrepreneurs all around the world. And another aspect of our work in 2020 as well was, as they say, doubling down on international expansion of the businesses and the startups. We have run successfully and completed a Dubai Technology Tour serving the Indian entrepreneurs to enter Dubai market. We completed 3 cycles of matchmaking events within the Market Access Program. And today, we are excited to launch once again for the 5th year in a row our networking series, for the first time virtually, of course. The objective of this session, and as you're probably aware of, we will have 10 sessions with you from October till mid-December. What are our objectives this year? So obviously we want to share the knowledge and bring in the spotlight the experiences by amazing founders. You will see a beautiful mix of the alumni of our programs as some of the entrepreneurs and successful stories, both based in Dubai and those who are scaling and entering Dubai market as well. Secondly, we want to foster networking opportunities for our attendees. And according to that, we are trying to adjust to the new norm of the virtual networking and how we can foster networking in this format. And one of the ways for this, we very much encourage you to have the conversation and discussion in the chat box. And also after the session, you will be able to share with us an email where you can specify what is your name, what exactly you're working on, and what kind of people you would like to connect from this session. And if there is a person who is also an attendee of this session, has expressed the same information and disclosed the details of his interest, whether you're looking for the co-founder, investor, maybe business partner, maybe you're looking for the mentor, and there is a mentor on this call who is looking for the mentees. So once we have this pool of the mutual interest, we'll be introducing attendees of each session accordingly. A little bit more work on our side, but this is what it takes. This is what it takes to keep the networking, business networking going in the unprecedented time after pandemic. We will take that. So, and last and not least, and probably the most important, is this year, for the first time, we are bringing this program for you in the partnership with our partner, in collaboration with our partner, Virtuzone. We strongly believe that our partnership allows us this year to bring more value in the current market condition where we operate. And for the first time this year, we are releasing a set of sector guide, because obviously fantastic, you will get the inspiration, excitement about the founder story that you hear on during this session. But then most of you, especially those who are very early at the stage, idea stage, you want to go, you want to start the business, you want to register the company, and you want to know how to do that. And this is why during this period from October till December, we are for the first time releasing 8 sectors guide: fintech, transportation, F&B, where in just a few pages, you will have a guide how to start your business in this specific sector in Dubai in year 2020 and year 2021. So, and today we're absolutely, since I mentioned our partner, we're delighted to have with us today Paul Bryson, a director of domestic restructuring based in Dubai and working from Dubai with a Virtuzone team. Paul, thank you very much for being with us. And it's not the first engagement that we have in supporting startups and entrepreneurs. We will definitely have this dedicated session where we learn more about what Virtuzone does, and based on the experience, your experience, what are the essential for the startup business when it comes to scaling from Dubai, or those entrepreneurs who are joining this call today from overseas, what to be mindful about when you come to Dubai market. I've already started then introduction of our guest and panelists. And let me just carry on with doing that. And now I would like to invite to our virtual panel 2 fantastic founders, 2 members of 2 fantastic startup teams who are actually alumni of our programs year 2020. First, I would like to invite to the virtual panel Anjani Kumar, the head of partnerships and overseas expansion of Turtlemint. Anjani, welcome to the networking series, and thank you for being with us. So it's actually very interesting. We had a good laugh when we talked with Anjani and the team about when the startup brings a head of partnership and overseas expansion, it means it's a good scale-up story that we would like to hear. So, and then the second panelist and our guest today is Abdulrhman Elhalafawy, co-founder and COO of Cup MENA. Gentlemen, welcome. So is it possible right now, I'll ask our panelists, Abdulrhman and Anjani, to turn your cameras on so we can have you on the virtual panel. Welcome, gentlemen.
Welcome to.
Thank you, Natalia.
Perfect, perfect. I'm trying to see, okay, now I see you. So fantastic. So gentlemen, let's just start with a quick introduction, because there is no one here is better positioned to introduce your exciting businesses, and they're very different, and that's what's the beauty. We are bringing, today we are bringing not the startups from the same industry, rather very different companies with different business models, serving different customer base, but you are both on this relentless journey of expansion to Dubai. So, Abdulrhman, shall we start with Cup MENA? What do you do?
In a nutshell, what we do in Cup MENA is a shortcut for coffee utilization product. We are a startup based in Egypt. We are an agri-tech startup. We are building a collection system to collect the spent coffee ground from coffee chains. Actually, we're collecting the spent coffee ground from Dunkin' Donuts and Costa, and you use the coffee ground to maximize the value out of it by using it in different industries. We started with mushroom cultivation. Now we are using coffee ground as a main soil to grow mushroom because we found that we have opportunity in the coffee ground to get the useful nutrition out of this coffee ground and to grow mushroom because we find a gap and we can empower in the industry itself in Egypt and MENA region. So that we started with mushroom. Also, we have opportunity to expand to different industries because coffee ground is a perfect place for many industries to start with. So that's in a nutshell what we are doing in Cup.
Brilliant, Abdulrhman, thank you very much. Well, I believe coffee is something we all can relate to, even at 5:30 p.m. Dubai time. Thank you for sharing this. Anjani, so you were one of the first team members who joined the Turtlemint team after the co-founders built the product, they brought it to the market, and then you have been almost on the sprint for international expansion. What does Turtlemint does?
First of all, thank you, Natalia, for organizing this whole thing. The way Startup Hub has been doing great stuff for startups in the region. We are aware of that, so thank you. Great to have the other panelists, Abdulrhman. Unlike the coffee smelling business, we are in the business of helping large banks, large enterprises offer insurance to the end customers. When you talk about fintech, there is a lot of conversation about lending, about digitization of various banking transactions. Now, one word you'll be hearing a lot in this pandemic is insurance. Everyone is trying to cover themselves, cover their families. Not only in MENA region, probably it's a global phenomenon. If there is one industry which has really picked up, that is insurance. We started off around 3.5 years back, like you rightly said, Natalia. We have built a platform, a single source platform, which helps large distributors like banks or agents on one spectrum, help end customers arrive at what is the right insurance for them. I mean, insurance is a slightly complex product. If you were to buy insurance for, let's say, health insurance for your family or anyone, you always need that nudge, that suggestion, because it is a slightly less understood, slightly mythical product, if you can use the word. So that's why we have built an entire tech journey where all the insurance providers can participate there, and multiple codes and multiple engines running. There's a lot of AI and recommendation engine which is being used here. And on the back end, a lot of stuff like claim processing and everything so sort of gets offered, so that when a large bank uses it, it can offer very seamlessly to the end customers, and there is no hassle. Just trying to decomplexify the whole business, and we have really scaled it up. We will be touching by next month $131 million of ARR in terms of the premium, which has sort of flown through our platform. And
Anjani, you're already getting into your performance in 2020. Let it be the next question, what we want to discover, because definitely everything, I think when we reached end of June and we entered July, on every panel, the most frequently asked question, and this is what the audience is usually interested in, the question is, how have you been doing in 2020? How yourself, your team, business has been impacted by the COVID, how you have been dealing, growing, hiring people, exploring the new business offering to different segments. So that kind of thing that we would like to focus on in the next set of questions. So I'll go back to Abdulrhman, and definitely, well, we have been all stuck at homes, right? We didn't go to the coffee shops. We were people across the world. We were consuming our coffee in our houses. So how this has affected you? Because you guys, you started in February 2019, which was exactly 1 year. When you were celebrating your 1 year anniversary, this is when the lockdown nearly started. So how was the 1 year anniversary, and how have you been doing this year?
Actually, when COVID-19 came, it changed everything that we have been planning from, because in the beginning, in 2020, we were graduating from Silver Venture acceleration program for food tech startups, and we have plans to expand our model and maximize our production and start approaching more customers and starting sales. But COVID changed everything, starting with changing our operational model. At first, we were thinking that we need to set up a factory in industrial area and have a machinery imported from China and start mass production. But while we discussing this with factories in China, we find COVID-19 came, and we have to stop this operational model because we have a problem that we can get this machinery. So after that, we found that coffee chains or coffee shops, all of that have been closing in Cairo, and there is no coffee ground. And this was one of the most problems that we face because it's a main supply thing, the main material that we are using. So that makes us to think about how we only going to collect the coffee ground only from coffee shops or from homes and companies and so on, because people didn't stop drinking coffee. They just stopped drinking coffee from coffee chain, but we still drinking coffee at our homes. So we start rethinking again about our collection model, not only from coffee shops. And no, we have to go to homes, to companies, to banks to collect coffee ground because there is a lot of amount there. So we have to get it. This is one of the things. The second thing that we start thinking about research and development, how it could be help us to secure the coffee ground. We find out that we can extend the shelf life for coffee ground. Our Mahmoud Tuhami, our CTO, found a way that we can use things that we can add to coffee ground and extend the shelf of coffee ground and stock it because we have our own stock, because in case that we find any problem, we have our stock from coffee ground. So our production, our system, everything will be continue without any problem. So COVID-19 was teaching us that there is main critical point we were going to face it in the future while we are scaling, but we were still start scaling. So find this problem was very helpful for us. This is one of the things that we most effective for us. The second thing that COVID-19 has changed the people attitude about regarding to food, how to eat. People start thinking about healthy life because they are staying at home and they keep eating. So they start and they are getting weight. So they are start thinking about getting healthy food. So mushroom, one of the things that anyone vegan, vegetarian people are seeking for healthy are going to mushroom. They love mushroom. So that start make people think again how to choose their food. So that's open for us a new customer segment that we can focus on it after that and start selling with it. So for me, I believe that COVID-19 was an opportunity, not a pandemic, as we all say. It was very helpful for us because we start thinking again and remodeling and see where we are going. And now we are going in the right path.
Excellent. So it was virtually like 2020 has become like acceleration of the entrepreneur school 2.0 for you to learn all the lessons that you're supposed to learn in 5 years. It was very, very much compressed in just a matter of 6 months.
That's right.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Abdulrhman. So Anjani, for you, I've already heard that and from people around, and from you, you just confirmed this on the calls, that in 2020, people around the world and the businesses started thinking about what's my insurance, how I can protect myself, my assets, my family in these unprecedented times. So how the current situation, pandemic, has impacted your business?
Initially, the business which was already happening, first couple of months, April, May, in fact, when most of the India was also in lockdown and parts of the UAE, MENA region was also under lockdown, the existing business through the platform substantially reduced, and we all were really worried about what is happening. But then every business has to survive and thrive, right? One thing which we saw that all these banks, I mean, typically, for example, any bank in UAE, you would see they have these branches where you walk in and then you walk in as a customer, and then the insurance sale happens. Now there were no branches. There were no customers going into the branches. So what happened was that there was an immediate push to maximize and ensure that all these selling also happens fully digitally. There were some legs which were some legs of the entire transaction which was still happening happening offline or on paper. Happy to say that all these banks also they agreed and they pushed for this RMs to have stuff on their iPad and through video calling, taking customer consent. these very small innovations which we sort of did, and we are a pure tech organization, right? So one of the challenges which we also faced was that the end deployment of the product, some of the customers would want it on their premises. So typically our support team would actually fly down in that city and actually help them understand the whole thing. Now everything had to move digital, and some of these banks are had legacy systems. So for them to understand the whole thing digitally, it took its own sweet time. But I think, yeah, like you rightly mentioned, for Abdulrhman also, a lot of acceleration in terms of understanding for the client side, and for us also has sort of happened in terms of what can be done digitally, and what still has to move physically. So that's where we are.
And what about people? Have you been hiring people? Because you're obviously at that stage when you're just beyond a team of co-founders.
Yeah, Natalia, I'll be very honest with you. So initially, in first 3 months, most of the top leadership sort of took a pay cut. Then that was voluntary. We thought we should do it to ensure that our runway remains longer than what we already have. And once the business boomed, in fact, the current business we have is better than the pre-COVID numbers, which happens to the platform. Then everyone is back to the previous salary. So yeah, well, we went through that, and one good thing was happened was that not a single member sort of left us during this period. So and that's volumes about what the kind of team. I mean, one message to everyone here. I mean, it's always a lot about the team, a lot about the people who are with you in the thick and thin. Probably whenever you end up hiring, even those limited people, you should always have this mindset of folks also whom you're hiring. So always really helps.
Yeah, indeed. So who is ready to learn with you very, very fast? So that was the lesson. You are like in the next interview, you will ask, are you a good student? So the next round of question, and because why I'm rushing a little bit, because we definitely have a number of questions coming through the chat box. We also have some questions that we got received before. So, and that's why the most important is for us also to dedicate enough time for Q&A. So, but I can't avoid the question that is the core stone of today's conversation is international expansion. And Abdulrhman, back to you. So to the question that although you're a very young company and you faced with the pandemic and the challenge very, very soon in your journey. So, but from what we know from the very early, you were keeping in mind this idea of expanding in the MENA region. So what has been your journey so far, and what's your strategy so far has been?
Actually, our model is just not only, we believe that Cup not should be only in Egypt, it has to be in the MENA region, all the MENA region, not for just, as I told you before, that we were chatting that we are not just seeking for revenue as all of the startups are looking for. No, we are seeking for expanding the impact. So we have a problem that the amount of collection, amount of coffee ground that is produced every day in the Egypt and MENA region, and all of that amount are just dropping without being used. So that there is opportunity to making an impact for environment, making an impact for like setting a production unit around Egypt and MENA region and start collecting this coffee ground and use this coffee ground to empowering many businesses, not only in agri-tech, no, for any other businesses like pharmaceutical and so on. So while the pandemic, we start thinking about what about expanding? So we have to think about this and put this in our mind. And this is the reason for joining to Dubai Chamber Hub programs and being one of the attendees for this program, because it was very helpful for us to understand the nature outside, because it's different from a country to another. So operations and everything else in Egypt is different for Dubai. But in Dubai, we found that we have opportunities. So this is one of our mainly focus to when we start expanding. Dubai will be one of our main destinations to be there, because we found that there's about great opportunity, the nature of the ecosystem there for startups, the nature of people, the mindset there. All of this will be helpful for us to go and expand. And not only that, we start thinking about else, not only expanding operations, about exporting. So while this, we are thinking about exporting. Not only we have to not expand and go be operating in different areas. We can export, and we are going through this problem, through this topic or this thing. So we started thinking about that, what we are need to be exporting, the international market, how it's going there. The operation for mushroom is very sensitive, and the shelf life for mushroom, it's just between from 7 to 10 days. So the logistics, how are we going to manage this? So all of it was, we have the time to think about this and get knowledge and be ready for this. And this is one of the main things that we have been learning in the last time while we facing many problems.
Abdulrhman, do you have education in the food industry, or like, because you speak so passionately about mushrooms and the healthy nutrition. So like is your background in food nutrition or something like that?
No. Actually, my background in education, I graduated from Faculty of Education, but I started early in the ecosystem of startup. I've been in waste management startups before I started to Cup. So it's regarding to the industry that I've been through this, and I saw the problems that happen in this. So maybe I have passion, and I love what I'm doing, because it's not just a work. It's an impact. We are helping people, helping environment, helping our community. So that's maybe reflecting on the way I talking about Cup and what we are doing.
That's great. That's important, right? So because a lot of people, we're getting rid of this, right, perception with the new generation, with the young generation, that you don't have to have specialized education in specific sector to start on this business, be it fintech, be it logistic, be it nutrition, be it sustainability and environment. You can come. Entrepreneurship is for everybody, for the people with all the backgrounds. So Anjani, the Turtlemint quest for international expansion, where you are and how has this been for you, and what's your intake on Dubai?
Personally, it has been very close to my heart. That's one thing we have been really pushing for. When we started doing this product, making this tech product, we ensured that like Abdulrhman says, that it has to be global. You can't be limited to one space. Thankfully, when we entered Dubai last year through one of our partner banks, we also realized that whenever you reach out to any other country, it's very important to know the regulations. It's very important to know the periphery around the businesses you want to operate on. So since we're in insurance, we met a lot of insurance providers. We met a lot of banks. We also went through all the regulations, and then we zeroed on our offering, and that's where we are. MENA region and UAE, Dubai, to be very, very specific, is going through some fantastic changes. A lot of amalgamation of banks is happening. Insurance regulations are going through some fantastic changes in line with the global requirements. So all this has sort of assisted in startups like us being present in that region. We are already live with one bank. We are hoping to deliver a similar solution to at least 2 or 3 more banks in next 6 months of time, God willing.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And good luck, obviously, with this journey. That's fascinating. Great, gentlemen. So right now, I will ask our third guest speaker, our partner, Paul Bryson, to join the call. And Paul, so now I'll pass the mic to you to share with us your experience of working with the businesses who are scaling from Dubai and those overseas technology startups who are coming to Dubai. How Virtuzone supports those and what they should be mindful of.
Well, thanks very much, Natalia. I've just switched over to a set of headphones. It's the first time I've ever used them. Can you confirm that you can hear me okay? Perfect, thank you. So yeah, thanks, as I said, Natalia, for having us involved. It's always a pleasure for Virtuzone to work with the Chamber. It's not the first time we've done it, and I'm sure it won't be the last time that we partner up on a few different things. Just by way of a little introduction to myself, and so that you guys know who you're speaking with. So I'm, as they said, I'm Paul Bryson. I'm the Director of Structuring at Virtuzone. I've been in the Gulf for the last 10 years, and I've been structuring and restructuring companies for the whole time that I've been here, helping foreign companies enter the market in Dubai, and equally helping Dubai companies move into other markets. So pretty well qualified to discuss the subject that we have today, and a bit of background on Virtuzone so that you know who we are. If you're based in Dubai, you've definitely seen or heard of us on the radio, seen the billboards. I would say that you kind of know who we are. We're probably the largest corporate service provider in the country now. We establish 200 new companies in a bad month here. And in a good month, probably 300 new companies, upwards of 300. And that's across the entire country, not just Dubai. So if we're going to look at, I think we split this into two different, well, perhaps three different sections. So let's look at, I'll give you a little bit of an overview on how I think the market here has been affected by coronavirus. If there was a bit of a lull, and how it's bounced back, where we are with that in terms of new companies entering this market. And then we'll also look at how easy it is for Dubai companies to move into other jurisdictions. And then we'll look at people from other jurisdictions thinking about coming to Dubai. So, as I said, we're probably the largest corporate service provider here in the region. We had always been establishing around 200 to 300 companies each month. Then coronavirus hit, and lockdown hit in Feb, right? And lockdown started around about March 19th, March 20th. And similar to what Anjani done, at senior management level here, we took a decision to voluntarily take a pay cut so that we didn't have to make anyone redundant, and nor take any pay cuts or enforce any pay cuts on any junior members of staff. So that was around about March. And then we just wanted to try and kind of sail through this in the same position that we were at the beginning of it. And I think from a cash flow standpoint, we've done very well with that. So we had about 120 staff exactly at the start of this. We're getting through it, and now we've got 125, right? So we've actually grown through this. We haven't let anyone go. We've just increased the team. And there's a pretty obvious reason for that. Things were going okay. We had kind of average months, April, May, June. Then July, completely out of the blue, Virtuzone set up more brand new companies in Dubai than we ever have done in any month for 11 years, okay? Which is, was completely out of the blue. We weren't expecting it. And then August, we had an amazing August as well. September just finished, and in September, we topped July. So we've just finished the most successful month that we've ever had in 11 years, and that is of setting up new companies. So more new companies in September than any month we've seen in the last 11 years. So I think that's quite an interesting stat, and it shows you that the market is back. Perhaps there was a lot of people that put projects on hold during Q1 and Q2, and they've just kind of finalized them now. And equally, Dubai is not like where I'm from and not like other places, where it is very, very entrepreneurial. In other places, it's quite difficult to set up businesses. It can take a lot of capital to get things moving, whereas I find here, there's a real kind of rolling up your sleeves attitude. And when people have got an idea, they license it and go and really kind of see what they can do with their business idea. And that's how Virtuzone was founded. We've been working purely with entrepreneurs since our inception, but more and more now we're working with large multinationals who are moving into this market or restructuring in this market. So we do definitely service both types of company. And what we've seen is people that are in Dubai, there's still a huge talent pool here, right? And a lot of people who may have lost jobs, been made redundant, or companies that have closed. What they haven't done is relocate back to their home country. People have said, okay, perhaps that's the push I need to set up this business, to move forward with that idea that I've had for the last couple of years. And that's worked really well for a lot of people. It's just giving them that little nudge. They want to stay here. The family want to stay here. Kids are in school. So they're setting up the business. They're getting their visa, and now they're working on their own. And I think this is definitely a silver lining in this COVID cloud. So we've definitely seen the market is probably as buoyant as it ever has been. Now, subject on what we were going to look at was overseas expansion. So when you're going to be expanding either into Dubai, let's say it doesn't need to be in Dubai, but let's say you're moving into Dubai from abroad, I think you need to assess things here. You need to carry out your research. You need to speak to people on the ground here. I would say don't just do your research and reading online. Get into conversations. I mean, people like us, we'll have consultations with you if you call us. We'll speak
All
to
like
you.
joining this session. All like joining
Absolutely.
this session and using Q&A part.
Well, absolutely, that's part of it. But we'll anybody anywhere in the world, we'll give you an hour of our time. You can pick our brains. We can find out more about your offering, your products. You can assess. I think you need to assess the competitive situation here in the market. And what I mean by that is, if you've got a product or service, you have to look at: is there a market for it there? Are my competitors already there? If my competitors are not there, why? Is there a problem? Is it perhaps not going to be successful in this region, or am I the first to do this? So you really have to assess that, and that's something that we can help you with. And then we can also look at the different types of structure and how you enter the market, because although the UAE is a very small country in the grand scheme of things, unlike the UK, there's around 60 different jurisdictions inside the UAE, okay? Spread across 7 Emirates, spread across free zone, mainland and offshore. And each of these jurisdictions have their own rules, regulations, regulatory body. You can't know them all, right? And it would take you forever and a day to research it all. So that's where people like us come in. We'll look at the concept that you've got, the business. Where I think you need to look at is, where is the audience for the product or service based? Are they in a specific area? Are they in a free zone? Are they in the mainland? What emirate? And then you might want to base yourself close to them. So that would perhaps determine who's going to buy your product or service, will determine how you're going to be licensed and how you're going to be set up. So that's, we look at how you license. And then you might want to consider, okay, what about corporate structure? Why do I need a structure? Do I need to put a board in place? Should I have a holding vehicle here to attract investment? I mean, is it self-funded? Is it a third-party investment? And then maybe you need to look at, okay, what's next for me? What's the 5-year plan? Maybe even the 10-year plan? How do we get out of this? What's the exit strategy? And that's when, you know, speaking to a consultant, someone like us or your lawyer here on the ground will help you take that forward. And I think we can all get very excited about setting up a business and we can pull the trigger and get the license, but you want to have that structured properly. And I think around now, about 7 in 10 companies that we structure are restructures. They're companies here in the market who have set up a while ago, maybe didn't take advice. Now they're going through a round of funding. They want to sell shares or sell the business. They're making some sort of change, but they're just not structured correctly. So I would say, get advice, do your research here on the ground. And maybe 10 years, yeah, I was going to say, about 10 years ago, you could work here on that fly in and fly out basis. You could come here from Europe, sell your product, meet buyers, and then come back every 6 months. That doesn't work anymore. You need to have a legal commercial presence here on the ground. You need to have a face and someone with a visa that can represent the brand, because if you're not here, the competitors are. So I think, you know, times have changed in the last 10 years.
So true. So I can't agree more. But I think one of the starting point for many people, especially even those who are based here locally, will be the actual guide that we are producing with you. Because in the guide that we're introducing and we're starting releasing from next week, we will actually outline the regulatory bodies and licensing authorities that are applicable for the specific sector. If you're a fintech, look at these entities. If you're transportation, that's your potential free zones and other licensing authorities, including mainland, and we'll provide this initial clarity of mind on how to start your business in Dubai. So
yeah,
perfect.
we're working on that now. I did see the guides, and I saw them today. We've been putting some input into them today and yesterday. And I think lastly, Natalia, when we're very, very close partnership with Dubai DED, but more importantly, Dubai FDI, who's the Foreign Direct Investment Office. Their job is to attract foreign investment here. And when setting up an entity, we have a couple that we're doing now, and this is how we add value, right? We have a couple that we're setting up now, that one's trading in firefighting equipment, another one's trading in a healthcare product. So we need to speak to the Civil Defence. We need to speak to DHA, Dubai Health Authority, to get these approved. It's not very fast, right? Although we are trying to make things happen here and becoming a smart city, these government bodies are not the fastest at responding. Certainly if an investor comes here and goes knocking on the door, it can take some time. But what we're doing is we'll engage Dubai FDI, who will help us navigate this. They will help us cut through the red tape, and they will set up the necessary meetings with people at these government bodies to approve and get the company set up. So there is a lot of value there. You can certainly cut out a lot of time by going straight to the right people.
Awesome. Thank you, Paul. Thank you very much. Always pleasure talking to you and hearing from you about the business journey and potential hiccups and obstacles that are inevitable in any market. And we
absolutely
are
any
not
market,
immune
yeah.
to that. Yeah. So I think as I mentioned in the very beginning of this session, so we would like to, we were stepping, when we were launching this session, the project this year virtually, we were stepping in a terra incognita because we didn't know whether anybody would come, because the fatigue from the webinar and digital engagement is real, and we want to keep it real, so we're not in denial here. Whilst in March it was very novelty kind of engagement, right now we all leaning toward having in-person interaction, but that's the rule of the game as of now still yet. The good part that we have fairly small pool of people attending, which allows us to actually have these conversations. And instead of me reading and translating, interpreting the questions that are coming from the chat, we also have other questions. What we will do, we're changing the rules as we go. So the people who would like to ask the question, we have some questions, so I will be calling the name of the people who already asked the question. So you, once you hear your name, you can actually talk to us and ask your question yourself. But first, please introduce yourself, your name, the company you work for, and then your question. And then we will address this question accordingly to the panel. And then if you haven't typed the question in the Q&A box, but you still would like to ask the question, just raise your hand and we will get to you in the chat box. But we will start with the questions that came first. And if we have George on the call, George Antaki on the call, I would like to ask George to ask the question that was raised by you about the licensing. So let's see if we have George still on the call. I think.
Yes, good evening.
Awesome. Hi, good evening, George. How are you doing? Where do you work and what's your question?
Actually, I'm working on a startup. It will be established in Dubai as a free zone company, but I'm facing a problem. My startup domain is still missed in the listing of the activities that the DMCC or other free zones could register. So is it possible to create an activity that match the same activity of my startup, or I have to choose the most suitable one or the nearest one to my activity? This is my question.
Thank you. Thank you, George. I will pass to the expert in this field, Paul.
Yeah, thanks very much. Thanks for the question, George. And that's very common to get that, because often, particularly now, right, as business concepts and ideas are evolving, and you come up with something new, and perhaps you're the first in the field to offer it, it's natural, right, that's not going to appear in a pre-qualified list of activities. So it really depends on who you're setting up with. A lot of authorities, I mean, for example, the DED in Dubai, who issue the mainland licenses, DMCC, and in some of the Northern Emirates, we can go to these guys and we can lobby for a new activity to be added. And that's something that we've done over the years, for sure. But regardless, if you've got a business concept and a business idea, and we're unsure of what it fits under, we will speak to the authority and say, this is a concept, this is how it's going to work. And they'll say to us, yep, this is the activity, this is the code, put it under that, you can do that. It's not a problem. As long as the activity is loosely related to what you do, you're not going to have an issue. And what you will find on some of these descriptions of the activity is at the end, it will say, okay, let's say it was furniture trading. It will mention, includes firms allowed to sell tables, chairs, carpets, windows, right? And then at the end, it might say, etc. So it means that it's not totally defined by that, and it's not limited to that. You can expand on it as long as it's related to the activity. So they will give us an activity that suits what you do. And if not, we can have it created. It's never a problem.
All right, thank you, Paul. And thank you, George, for asking the question. So before we go to Prahlad, we will bring the question of Hussein. If Hussein on the call, I think your question is about pitching your idea. Do we have Hussein on the call? I don't think that we have Hussein, but if maybe we can give a quick guide on, you got an idea, how you go and pitch your idea. What's the best strategy? Anjani or Abdulrhman, would you like to pick up this one? The best advice of pitching.
Sorry, if you could repeat the last line.
Sure, Anjani, the question is how to pitch your idea. You got the idea in IT and technology business. How you pitch this idea?
So there are two parts to the answer. Whom you're pitching? If you're pitching to the investors or if you're pitching to the end customers. The end customers, I'm sure once you have that passion, probably it comes automatically. When you're pitching it to the prospective investors, there are only 2 or 3 line items you have to really sure of. You should know that there's a business validation in whatever idea you're pitching in. It should eventually happen at scale. While you may start at a very early stage, there should be a very decent market mapping which you should have. There should be a decent market size which should exist for this idea. And even if there is a complete white space, and if eventually you end up garnering only 5% of that white space, still the kind of investment you are looking at, it should be a sizable business. Probably that is the first validation you should look at. And of course, you should be really convinced about the whole thing, and you should write down the entire cycle about how you'll go through. Also, you should be very mature about the pitch. You should also speak about the inherent risks in the pitch and what all you'll take care of to address those risk items.
Thank you, Anjani. Thank you. We will ask team to unmute Prahlad. Prahlad, what do you do and your question?
Hi, good evening, everyone.
Hello.
Yeah, am I audible now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, so thanks to distinguished speakers for their wonderful insight. Actually, I wanted to understand, is there any specific, any dedicated team who can facilitate the startup who are going to, expand their operation into Dubai?
Okay, I think so. The probably
Paul, in terms of the regulations, which is necessary, right from documentation to the filing, the different various kind of permission, clearances, whatever they require to set up the business in Dubai.
Thank you, Prahlad. I think Paul just emerged in the chat box. Paul, your intake on that?
Yeah, so thanks very much for your question. I don't fully understand all of it, but I get that you want to know is there someone that can help you set up in Dubai, someone that can help you prepare the documentation, tell you what you need to do, and that's exactly what we do. That's our core business. So if you've got a business that exists elsewhere, or if you have a concept and you want to establish here, feel free to reach out to me. My details will be supplied here, and then I can point you in the right direction internally. I can pass it on to necessary people here who can help execute that. But that's something that we can do. We can consult with you and help you enter this market, because as we know, it is a bit of a maze deciding which free zone, where, when, and how to set up the business, and that's something that we would assist with.
Okay, thank you, Paul. So the next question I will refer to Abdulrhman. So Abdulrhman, you're with us. So we got a question about attendee who is not disclosing his identity yet. And the idea is it's revert to, I think, probably Dubai Chamber, Dubai Startup Hub about do you support startup ideas? And I will start answering what we do, but then I will want you to elaborate when you were a year ago at very much idea stage, which did you approach incubators? Did you participate in competitions? What exactly support you availed from the ecosystem where you were? Because obviously you started in Egypt, your journey in Egypt. We could speak about Dubai here, and I don't know if I hope that the person who asked this question is still on the call. So when it comes to the ideas, I think the biggest challenges that entrepreneurs are facing at idea stage is the confidence, the ability to access mentors and the role models. And this is something that we very much are doing right now as we speak, bringing this pool of amazing founders with us on the call and bringing like-minded people who can actually share their experiences and absolutely be real. Because I think we like to speak about successful stories, but I think this is what I want to, maybe I'll ask Anjani and Abdulrhman quickly. Did you guys have a failed project when you were part of the startups, or you started some project that didn't work out in the past?
Oh yes,
Actually,
always. So sorry, Abdulrhman. Please go
go
ahead.
go ahead, go ahead, no problem.
So probably even within the startup, probably 9 out of 10 ideas would fail, and that's really okay. So just accept and move on. So I think then that's how it works.
Exactly. Abdulrhman, did you have a failed project before?
Yeah, I did. I started my own startup from 4 years ago in traveling, and I found out after 2 months that I don't have the experience needed for this industry, and my co-founders with me wasn't have the same experience. So we found that we are going to fail. So we start to learning after that and go again to start our own business.
So it's okay at idea stage, it's okay to fail. It's completely fine to fail, but you have to start with something. So after you go over the fear of failure, that these kind of platforms and interaction with the real entrepreneurs who have the number of ventures in their pockets, you start looking into, does my idea solve any kind of real business, societal problem, challenge? Does it meet the needs of the people? Is it good to have, or is it must have? And I think this is where you just go and you do the field study. So what we as Dubai Startup Hub of Dubai Chamber are doing in this respect, on annually, several times a year, we run various engagements with various stakeholders and organizations to provide training and guidance on how to build, for instance, business canva for your business idea. Or for instance, earlier this year, we ran a joint project with Smart Dubai, specifically on how we can harness the power of open data to validate your business idea. So in this respect, when you are at idea stage, the service that we provide and focus on education training and education from the mentors, from exposing you to the like-minded people, those who have gone through the journey. So, but Abdulrhman, back to you. So when you were 1 year ago, what kind of support you received from the ecosystem? Did you go to the trainings? Did you go to the incubators and so on and so forth?
Actually, when we started that we have the idea only, we joined to incubation program in Egypt called Masr Gesr. It's related to NGO, big NGO in Egypt called Masr Al Khair. They were very helpful for us, giving us the mentorship that we are needed, the directions that we have to go through, and also the fund that we had to start our MVP and start validate our product and start making mushroom out of coffee grounds. So it was funding from different aspects. And after that, we joined to Saver Venture, and this was other direction, that an acceleration program. So now we have a product, we have a customer, so we need to accelerate how we can reach more. So we spent 3 months in Kuwait, and we started learning deep dive in business and customer pain, and knowing our customer and the operation itself, and how to approach investor. So this was the next level that we went through with Saver, and this was very helpful for us to start thinking again. I believe that our approach for the problem for COVID-19 and what we've been through 2020, this was a result for what we've been in this acceleration program and incubation program. So they teach us how to solve your problem, how to act and keep going. So it's not just about helping you to start your idea. It's more than that. You will see the result after maybe 1 year, 2 years. It's regarding to the knowledge that you got it from.
Thank you, Abdulrhman. So it's basically your advice is to go out there and find the relevant program, because I think across MENA region and Dubai, we can speak about Dubai, the support ecosystem of various incubators, accelerators, government initiatives have been flourishing in support, in providing support to entrepreneurs, especially at idea stage. So it's just the matter of going out, doing your research, and finding the suitable educational program to bring your business from idea stage to the early stage or minimum viable product. So one common question I will ask you, gentlemen, one question that we still receive fairly frequently to our mailbox is about, I have an idea, I have a great idea, and I just need funding from the investor, and then it will pick up. So when it comes to funding, what has been your journey? How are your businesses funded? Have you been bootstrapped, or you had angel investors? What has been your journey? Anjani, would you like to start?
Yeah, that's a very relevant question. For us, we were bootstrapped for initially 5-6 months. Then we got our seed funding, and now we are a Series B funded startup. So we have gone through that journey. To your earlier bit of question, probably when you start looking for funding, you should at least have some beta version of whatever you're sort of offering. So whenever you are going to investors, you should have something to show, something actually working, and that's what we sort of went through.
Okay, and right now, where you are right now in your journey, are you fundraising or?
So we had announced our Series B last year. We are in the middle of we are in the middle of a pandemic. We are also in the middle of a fundraising. It is not official yet, but we have made significant progress in that.
Well, we'll keep following to hear the latest announcement. It's very interesting how, at a degree, that the funding. We've seen some reports on funding, funding of the startups in the beginning of, in the middle of the year, H1 2020. There was a lot of deals. There was such an acceleration of funding of the startups in the discussion during the last quarter of 2019 and early 2020. So it's virtually, if you look at the funding curve in first part of the 2020, it was still up, which was the most fascinating.
And then plateaued.
So hopefully we will reach this soon again, the uptick in there. So, but definitely good luck with your fundraising effort, and we'll be following. Abdulrhman, your fundraising journey so far?
Actually, when we started with our own money. Just we have money to prove the concept that we have a startup idea. And then when we joined to accelerate incubation program guests, as I mentioned in the last question, they gave us a grant to start our production unit, small production unit to MVP. And after that, we start going to acceleration program saver, and we got just a small investment with equity financing. And this is what our journey for now. By the end of this year, we are going to reach the point that we can grow our startup organically without needing for fundraising. But if we go into fundraising, that will be for a reason that we are need to mass production to scale to expand our outside Egypt. But for by the end of this year, we can grow our startup organically without needing to be fundraising, and start the problem that most of the startups that failing in, that they have to fundraising or they have to close their startup.
Thank you, Abdulrhman. And well, based on our experience with Dubai Startup Hub, Dubai Entrepreneurship Department of Dubai Chamber, and our network or the pool of entrepreneurs that we work with, and so far we have served more than 7,000 entrepreneurs. We see that some of the most fascinating and solid serial entrepreneurs, they all start with bootstrapping. And then based on the market, based on the business needs, this is where the seed investment, bridge rounds are coming into place. So it's not the game of fundraising at the idea stage per se, at least what we have seen in the market in the past few years. And we have the question, we received a question from Snober Salim. Would you like to ask your question? It's about funding as well. So Snober, what do you do? What is your startup is about, and your question?
Okay. Well, we've been we were established in 2017. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, very well.
Okay. And the startup is SBL International FinTech Digital. We are into telematics. That's for movable assets. These assets, when they're financed with the bank, we go and chip them and we make it secure. We have a portal platform which is completely independent, truly fintech. And you can actually go and control these assets, have full grip to it. And we have already done, we've been commercial with a very recognized bank, okay? And now, obviously the whole year has just passed by due to Corona, and business has been near to really low. And right now we are looking to raise funding, okay? We're one of the startups who have actually got the experience of being commercial, and we've also been paid out. It's been really minimal, but yes, we have been. And I think it's a very lucrative idea, lucrative fintech, and we're looking to raise funding. So we really need assistance in how to go about it, you know.
Thank you, Snober. So I will then, Anjani, your advice, maybe even Paul, if Paul has experience with advising on the preparing for the pitch and for the funding. Anjani, you first.
So I think one of the first validations which we've already done is that you have raised revenue. So probably that's a very good start. One thing which you can do is that you can narrow down on the list of investors who go for a very early stage investment sort of opportunity. And there's a second, not a very known way, but the bank you have worked with. Most of these banks are really aligned with a lot of investor community and all. In fact, number of these banks have their own investment arm. Probably you should directly reach out to them as well. Of course, you can always go ahead and take the help of the Dubai Chamber of Commerce and their startup of initiatives to align you with investors.
Thank you, Anjani. I think I also believe we have on this call today several of our entrepreneurs who have gone through fundraising, and maybe we can seek the support and assistance from them as well. I see Adam on the call, and I believe Adam is doing the pitch to Eureka later today at 7 p.m. Adam, are you with us here? Can we let Adam? So will you be open to support Snober and give your advice on the fundraising after the session?
Absolutely, I'd be happy to. Yeah, I've got a pitch. As I said, live, or as you said, thanks for the plug. Live at 7 o'clock with Eureka. So anyone's welcome to tune in. If you want the link, just let me know. But yeah, the raise maze, I call it, and it's not easy. It takes a long time, but it's quite fun as well.
Thank you, Adam. Thank you very much, and we wish you good luck with the pitching today. So, so at this point, I will finish our Q&A part, and thank you. So, thank you very much to all our panelists and Paul, Abdulrhman, and Anjani. So, Noof, back to you.
Thank you, Natalia. On behalf of Dubai Startup Hub, I would like to thank our speakers, Paul and Abdulrhman and Anjani, for being here with us today. And thank you for our audience for attending the session as well. Please be aware that we will be sharing with you after the session a short survey where you can mention who you want us to connect you with from the audience. And if there is any timing works for you, aside with the sector guide, which Natalia has mentioned earlier. So have a great day, everyone. And don't forget to sign up for the next session if you are interested in FinTech. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone.